Part 4, give me more. These are the students' notes questions, the dreaded students' notes questions that really bother a lot of students. These come last. They're always the last questions you'll see. And by the time you get to these questions, you're going to be really tired. So do me a favor. Just cross that out. Don't even look at these notes right off the bat. 90% of the time, you don't need to read these notes. When you see these bullet points on the last 3 to 4 questions, just ignore it. Go straight over here to the question. You always want to go to the question first. Anybody who knows what they're talking about will tell you that. 90% of these people on YouTube giving you videos on the SAT unfortunately don't know what they're talking about and are giving you the wrong advice. But you always want to go to the question first, and especially on the student's notes question. So let's read this. If you like these sorts of tips and this is useful for you, like, share, subscribe, check back in. I'm giving this information to you for free because I'm tired of seeing students who pay tons of money for the prep get all the high scores while everyone else gets left behind. This first sentence, 9 times out of 10, is all you need. The student wants to emphasize a difference between baking soda and baking powder. Okay, so I'm going to look down here at my options and I'm going to pick the one that talks about a difference. 3 of these options are not going to give me a difference, or they're not going to mention both baking soda and baking powder. Very simple. So, A, to make batters rise, bakers use chemical leavening agents such as baking soda and baking powder. All right, that mentioned baking soda, that mentioned baking powder, but did you see a difference between them? No, that's a similarity. They're both used to make batters rise. B, baking soda and baking powder are chemical leavening agents that, when mixed with other ingredients, cause carbon dioxide to be released within a batter. Okay, it mentions both baking soda and baking powder, but I don't see a difference. Once again, it gave me a similarity, not a difference, which is what it asked for in this sentence. C, baking soda is a pure sodium bicarbonate, whatever carbonate, and honey is a type of acidic ingredient. That mentioned baking soda, but did not mention baking powder. So I know right off the bat, my answer is D. However, let's read it just to show you what they do. To produce carbon dioxide with a liquid batter, baking soda needs to be mixed with an acidic ingredient, whereas baking soda does not. Aha, whereas. That's the key. The SAT, it's always giving you hints. The question is, can you find the hint? If you know how to locate those hints, you're much more likely to get the answer correct. And that's the only one that mentions both that mentions both baking soda and baking powder, and also gives me a difference. Whereas is used to show contrast, and that's the answer. That can be answered very quickly. These are the easiest question types, and students see all this and they think it's the hardest question type. They start over here, they read all these notes, then they get to the question, then they get over here. 5 minutes later, they've lost tons of time, they're exhausted, and they've read too much information to stick to the point. All it said was the student wants to emphasize a difference between 2 things. And all you have to do is pick the option that emphasizes the difference. It's that simple. And knowing these tricks is the difference between a high score and a bad score. It's really just that simple. Hey, are you going to take the SAT? Why not get an edge? You're competing against everyone else who's taking the test. And they are studying, they are preparing. And guess what? If you're not getting the score you want, it's not because you're not smart enough to get a high score. It's because you don't know the specific strategies for this specific test. If you really want to get an edge and get that higher score to get into the university of your dreams, come check me out on Fiverr. Doc English. I'm offering a 12-lesson course that will prepare you for this test, and you will have a huge advantage. Check it out.